Hip, hip. Don't be a nickaroo. Get hip and follow through. And get your steady food. Make the joint jump like the gators do. The Jim Jam jump is the jump and jive. Makes you like your eggs on the Jersey side. Hip, hip. Hip, hip. Jim Jam jump and jive makes you hip, hip on the mellow side.
my day. Bend an ear and listen to my version of a really solid Tennessee excursion. Pardon me, boy, is that the Chattanooga Choo-Choo? Yes, yes, track 29. Boy, you can give me a shine. Can you afford to board Chattanooga Choo-Choo? I got my fare and just a trifle to spare. You leave the Pennsylvania station about 3:45. Read a magazine and then you're in Baltimore.
Dinner in the diner, nothing could be finer
than to have your ham and eggs in Carolina. When you hear the whistle blowing 8 to the bar, then you know that Tennessee is not very far.
Shovel all the coal in, gotta keep it rolling.
Ooh, ooh, Chattanooga, there you are. There's gonna be a certain party at the station.
Satin and lace.
I used to call Funny Face. She's gonna cry until I tell her that I'll never roam. So Chattanooga choo-choo, won't you choo-choo me home? Chattanooga, Chattanooga, get aboard. Chattanooga, Chattanooga, all aboard. Chattanooga, Chattanooga, Chattanooga choo-choo, won't you choo-choo me home? Chattanooga choo-choo.
Hey, good afternoon. Well, good morning still. I just want to let everybody know it's going to be 10 minutes we will begin. So please go ahead and get your seats, and we will begin here in 10 minutes. All right? All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Everybody can hear me all right today? Our pleasure, our pleasure. All right, everybody ready to get started here? All right, so after 44 small business summits in 24 states, across 3 tours, the PGA Tour, the Web.com Tour, and the Champions Tour, and also traveling to Canada twice this year, it feels fantastic to be here in our hometown. So thanks everybody for being here. My name is Lane Teitelbaum with Web.com, and on behalf of Web.com, welcome to our Small Business Summit presented by the Sawgrass Marriott. First and foremost, I do want to thank a number of people here who have really helped us, whether with the organization or reaching out to all of you. I want to first thank the Sawgrass Marriott for their sponsorship of our Small Business Summit today. Also want to thank the TPC Sawgrass, the extremely hospitable to us as always. So I want to thank them for all their generosity. Also want to thank the tournament staff here at the Web.com Tour Championship. Chad Kane, the tournament director, Dan Glah, the Chief Operating Officer of the Web.com Tour. So I want to thank them for all their support. Also want to thank our business organizations, SCORE, SBDC, the Jacks Chamber, the St. Johns County Chamber, and the Better Business Bureau for being here today. If you all have not had an opportunity to speak with them, they are all outside. They can help you in a variety of ways, and we're happy that they're here to help provide some value for all of you here today. Also want to thank our friends from MasterCard, CDW, and FedEx for joining forces with us here today. We have a very unique and a special summit for all of you today, and we're so glad that they're here, so we want to thank them very much. Also want to thank Mike Young. Mike, where are you? Mike is the undisputed leader of our Small Business Summit team, and his passion and enthusiasm is contagious. And there was a lot of hard work and effort that was put into this program here today, and Mike spearheaded it for us and made it all happen. So I want to thank Mike. And lastly, I want to thank Mr. David Brown, President, CEO, and Chairman of Web.com. This was Mr. Brown's vision, the Small Business Summits, from day one of our partnership with the PGA Tour. And in 2 years in doing this now, we truly are making a difference in communities across the nation where the PGA Tour is played. And I just want to thank Mr. Brown for his support of our team. So thank you very much, Mr. Brown. So Web.com is an industry leader in providing internet marketing and online solutions for small and medium-sized businesses. Simply, we help small and medium-sized businesses succeed online every single day, whether it's domain registration, hosting, providing do-it-yourself tools, to much more complex products and solutions such as custom-built websites, e-commerce solutions, or leveraging social media such as Facebook. In June of 2012, we became an official partner of the PGA Tour when we became the umbrella sponsor for the Web.com Tour. The Web.com Tour is the qualifying tour. It's the path to the PGA Tour. In order for aspiring golfers to play on the PGA Tour, they have to play through the Web.com Tour, earn enough money, earn enough status to earn their PGA Tour card. We're here today because the Web.com Tour Championship is being played outside the Dyes Valley course, started yesterday, ends on Sunday, where come Sunday, a total of 50 Web.com Tour players will have earned their PGA Tour card and have that opportunity to play on the PGA Tour starting next year. The PGA Tour gives back to its local communities and charities more than any other professional sports league combined. Earlier this year, the PGA Tour, it was widely noted that they have surpassed $2 billion in charitable givebacks. So not only with our sponsorship of the Web.com Tour, we have been hosting these free small business summits in partnership with the tour and where the PGA Tour is played to really help small business owners unleash their potential online. As I mentioned earlier today, we have a different unique setup for all of you where we're going to have a great panel discussion with our friends from CDW, FedEx, MasterCard, and from Web.com. I will ask that you please silence your cell phones. However, if you do feel the urge to tweet, good, I was hoping I got a laugh. Please use hashtag SmallBizSummit, okay? And you also can follow us on Facebook at Facebook.com/web.com. All right. I want to call up Dan Glod now with the Web.com Tour, the Chief Operating Officer, to welcome you to the tournament and also give you a little bit more information about the events that will happen here the rest of the weekend. Dan?
Hello and welcome to the Web.com Tour Championship. It's great to look out into this group and see future business leaders here in the Jacksonville community. As Lane touched on, we've got quite a serious competition going on this week with the Web.com Tour Championship where, 50 of our small to medium-sized business owners, that's our players as independent contractors, will achieve their dream to move on to the PGA Tour. So for those of you that are golf fans, I know we have quite a few in the Jacksonville area. We really encourage you to come out. I know Lane's going to touch on it. Web.com has made an incredible offer for folks that are here to come out and have a special experience at the golf course, as well as come back on any of the weekend days. So you'll be hearing more on that. And I'll just tell you, if you've got friends, families, loved ones that want to come back out, let us know. We'd love to have them out here to enjoy this competition. We also realize there might be a few of you out in the audience that aren't diehard golf fans, and so what we want to do is we want to make sure that you have an opportunity to come out and have a special experience as well. So we've got a number of things going on. It started earlier this week with junior clinics and dinners, but as we sit here on Friday, some of you may have peeked out the back and noticed that there's a stage that's being built. We'll have Scotty McCreery tonight to play a military appreciation concert, American Idol winner and country star sensation, so he'll be out there. Your ticket gets you access to the concert, so again, come on out, enjoy. We're going to have food trucks out there. It'll be a lovely evening, Lord willing that the rain holds out. Tomorrow, we continue the competition through the weekend. We also know, if you're like me, we love our football here in Northeast Florida. So college game day tomorrow. Again, we've got an area out. We're calling it the largest tailgate. So come on out. We'll have the game, all of the games on our big screen TVs. Taco Lou, another small to medium-sized business, will be out there. We're tacos at the turn. So come out, enjoy some food. We'll have drinks. We'll have the game on, and you can balance that with watching some golf as well. And then that'll roll into Sunday. If you're not fortunate enough to have a game down to the Everbank field and see the Jags play there, come on out. We'll have the game on the Jumbotron. You'll be able to see that. And at the end of the day, as Lane touched on, you're going to see something incredible with these guys as they reach for their dreams. Some will be successful and move on to the PGA Tour, and some will get so close, and then we'll have them back on the Web.com Tour. But again, thank you so much. Special thanks to Web.com. You may not realize it. We travel around the country. I attend a number of these small business summits, but we're so fortunate to have them headquartered here in Jacksonville. Certainly on behalf of the PGA Tour, to have them as an umbrella sponsor for this tour, it's been an incredible partnership. We've got a long-term partnership with them, and we're excited about the future. So thanks again for coming out. Enjoy your next couple of hours of some fantastic content. All right, thank you.
All right, thanks, Dan. Appreciate it very much. So as I mentioned today, we have an extremely unique situation. So we were fortunate enough to have Mark Lee, who will be our moderator today. Mark has an extensive background in the business industry. He is now the host of a weekly radio show, Small Talk with Mark S. Lee, that focuses primarily on small businesses. Mark has done many of these moderations before, so we are extremely happy that he's here. I can tell you right now, I'm extremely happy he was available, because if it wasn't Mark, it was probably going to be me. So Mark, thank you for being available. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mark Lee.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, it's anytime I come back to Florida, I'm a happy camper, so thank you. Hey, welcome. Welcome to the Small Business Summit. And I'm so happy to be here and to moderate this session. And let me just say a couple of things. Jacksonville, for me, is my second home. I actually lived in Jacksonville, and I still go back and forth between up north and down here to Jacksonville, Florida. So this is a wonderful, wonderful city. A lot of wonderful people. I'm on a couple boards down here as well. I do some work with Startup Quest, which is focused on working with small businesses in and around Jacksonville in combination with the Jacksonville Chamber, amongst other things. But this is not about me today. Lane is correct. I do host a radio show. This is really about you. This is an opportunity for us to come together with an excellent panel and really talk about how to improve your business from experts. And my radio show is focused on just that topic. It is called Small Talk, and I call it Small Talk for a reason, because it's an opportunity to focus on our small business community and give them a chance to tell the story. Not me to tell the story. I do have a lot of years of experience, but I let my business experts, such as the panel I'll be introducing in a second, and also the other individuals who will, other entrepreneurs, tell their story. And I was fortunate enough recently to interview David Brown, and he came on and shared some wonderful things that are happening here with Web.com. And as a result of the interview, I can tell you that business did come to Web.com. And people actually signed up to really do business with them. So, Mr. Brown, thank you very much, Web.com. Thank you for having me. With all that as a backdrop, this is going to be a treat. This is going to be an interactive session. And we're going to have you really hopefully take some notes, start jotting down some questions. There will be time, a chance for you to ask your questions as well. I'm also pleased to say this is an outstanding panel. I had the opportunity of interviewing each one right before this for the radio show that will be coming up. And I was just blown away. I actually learned some things from other panelists for my own business. So with that as a backdrop, what I like to do is to introduce each one of our panel of experts here, and we'll explain how the process is going to work once I introduce them. First, Jason, come on up, Treisman from Web.com. Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you. Angela Stevens from FedEx. Thank you. And I promise I'm not going to knock this over. I'm looking at this like I think I am. And next we have Debbie. Come on up, Debbie Barta. And she's from MasterCard. Thank you for joining us. And last and not least, Nino Marini. Come on up. He's from CDW. Thank you. So the way this is going to work, this is really going to be a conversation. It's not going to be a hard line of questioning. My style is such that, and I think these guys found out and ladies found out earlier, I just like to ask questions. And the way that this is going to work is they're going to provide you with their perspective of how to help you and your business. Small business development is crucial in America. You guys are job creators. You're the economic engine, but we always want to learn more, don't we? So this is our opportunity today. So the way it's going to work is I'm going to ask a question, and we're going to start with an opening question. We'll introduce our panel to you, and then it's going to lead to a series of questions. So as you're listening this afternoon, what I'm going to ask you to do is to write down some thoughts, some questions, and towards the end of the session, before Lane comes back up to close down the session, we will give you an opportunity to ask questions as well. Is that okay? You tracking with me so far? All right. Thank you very much. So, Jason, we're going to start with you. Again, introduce yourself to the audience and tell us a little bit about Web.com. We all know about you, but please share with the audience whatever you'd like to share. Basically, an elevator pitch.
All right, excellent. Well, again, my name is Jason Teichman. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Web.com. My team is responsible for serving the online marketing needs of our over 3 million small business customers. Every day, we take over literally 10,000 phone calls with questions like, how do I build a website? How do I market on Facebook? How do I get my business to appear on Google, Yahoo, Bing? We've been answering these questions for almost 18 years, so we know a little bit about what works and what doesn't work, and hopefully we can share some of those tips and tools with you today. Me personally, I've been with the company for about 7 years in total with its predecessor company. Prior to that, I was with American Express on their consumer and small business side, and I also worked in a variety of startups. So I have a little bit of perspective of what it's like to work in a very, very big company, and also what it's like to work at a company that's very, very small as well. So thank you for having me, and it's very much a pleasure to be here.
If I recall, you're also a University of Michigan football fan.
I am indeed.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Well, as you might, I also I come down from Detroit, so that's the connection.
Yeah.
But I know I'm in Florida, Florida State country, so it's okay. All right. And next, Angela, please.
Hi, I'm Angela Stevens. I work in the small business area of FedEx for about the past 15 years. I've been part of a marketing team that's really focused on flexing on how we connect with small business, and we've been very focused on learning, uncovering small business best practices so that we can help small businesses get started. And very much like Web.com does with online marketing, we're trying to help customers connect with how do they then get their goods to the market. I think I have the best job at FedEx because I get an opportunity to work very much like a small business, but within a large corporate setting. I consider myself an entrepreneur. If you're not familiar with that term, it's one of my favorites. It means I kind of work like an entrepreneur within a large company where I look for opportunities, fill gaps, and that's very focused on meeting the needs that small business customers have today, and we know that one of those is helping them get started and grow with their business. One of the things that I'm most passionate about is the small business grant program we started 2 years ago, and from that I've had an opportunity to get to know a lot of our grant winners and learn from them what's helped them be successful, and that will really be the foundation for what I'm able to share with your team today.
Outstanding. Thank you very much for joining us. Debbie, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Debbie Barta, and I lead the Simplify Commerce platform at MasterCard. And essentially, Simplify is an opportunity for merchants to take a payment either online or in person of any card brand in just a matter of minutes. And the whole purpose is to say that, Mr. Small Businessman, you are actually different, unique, special little snowflakes compared to the rest of business world. You have unique needs. There are things that should be more important than payments, and it's focusing on products, focusing on great services. Payment should be the least of the concerns. So this product is specifically tailored for the super technical all the way to the super non-technical to give you those tools that you have at hand to get up and running really, really quickly. This room in particular is where I sort of come alive. I've got a passionate affinity for the small business space, and the passion in the room is palpable. So this is really going to be a fun dialogue to have sort of different perspectives, but also to hear yours as well. Thank you.
Thank you as well. Lino?
My name is Lino Marini. I'm with CDW. I manage our small business team for the entire state of Florida, and it's really a pleasure to be here. I've been with CDW for about 16 years now, and I've served in a variety of roles, and I must be honest, the last two in our small business segment have been the greatest 2 years at the company, and CDW takes great pride in leveraging our resources to help small businesses extend their IT staff and focus more on what you guys are all really, really good at, and staying in front of your customers and acquiring more customers and touching more customers. And we'll talk a little bit more throughout the panel about some of the resources that we have access to help you take a consultative approach to running your business and leveraging technology to reach more and more customers.
Thank you. And this is a diverse panel. The other thing I want to say is these individuals have come from across the country. I think Chicago, is that right?
Yep.
And you managed the Florida territory. You came from St. Louis and Memphis, Tennessee. Obviously Jacksonville, and of course Detroit/Florida as well. So there's a commitment to bring you a diverse panel of experts to Jacksonville. All right, so let's get started. Let's get started with our conversation this afternoon. Success. We all want to be successful. And there are key attributes, right, that people want to somehow employ or identify to be successful. Why don't we take a couple of minutes and each one of you to answer the question, what are some of the key attributes that you notice with successful businesses? Jason?
Sure. The one thing I could say is there's no silver bullet. There's no one single thing that you need to do to be successful. I wish it was that easy. The things that we've seen, when we serve our small business customers is there's a very clear sense of purpose. And that very clear sense of purpose comes across in a couple dimensions. The first dimension that we've seen is it's very clear on what market it is you want to serve. Who is the customer or potential customer you really want to go after? The second thing that we've seen is, and people forget about this one, why should they choose you? What makes your business special, unique, and different? And that is so important. We see a lot of business owners, they get carried away with conducting their trade, conducting their profession, but why should they choose you over somebody else? Of course, how are you going to make money? Yeah, you need to make money to stay in business. And then another area that we've seen is, are you clear on how you're going to market your business? Unfortunately, it's not enough to be really good at what you do. That helps. That's clearly important because people won't come back to you. But how are you going to get the name out, your name out? How are you going to get people to find you when they're looking for your business? So, while there is no one silver bullet, being clear on who you want to serve, why someone should choose you, how are you going to make money, and how you can get the word out that you exist are kind of 4 key things that we've seen across businesses that are generally very successful.
Outstanding. Angela, why don't we turn over to you for a chance to provide your perspective on the same question?
Sure. From a little different angle, one of the things that we've seen as a very common thread through the small business grant winners we've gotten to know very well the past 3 years is that they're all very connected, and connected in several different ways. One is they're all connected to a personal passion, and that passion may be reinventing a third-generation family business to keep it relevant in today's economy. It may be serving an underserved market. It may be finding a way to produce a product that helps support women in third-world countries. But the mission that you mentioned, the real focus on what they want to accomplish is often very passion-driven to something that's purposeful and very personal to them. The second thing is they're often very connected to their communities. It could be a local or regional community. It could be more of a global community. But they're reaching out and they're connecting to the community. They're finding ways to give back, and they're creating very sustainable and meaningful relationships with their small business and entrepreneurial peers. One thing we hear a lot from small businesses that causes them difficulties is, I feel alone, especially when you're a 1 or 2 person business getting started. You feel disconnected and like everything's on your shoulders. And we have found that successful small businesses find ways to negate the impact of that by finding mentors and being mentors themselves to mentees, but staying connected and finding people that believe in your business and see the value in your business being part of the greater community. And then the third thing is that they're connected often to social or environmental causes that are meaningful as well, whether it's sustainability, local food production, local economies. And so there's very different ways of being connected, but they find ways to do that very successfully.
And I hear a couple of things that you're saying, being involved in the community, really getting that peer support. That's really important. Certainly, we get so wrapped up in our day-to-day operations, don't we? Whether you have a small business or a larger business, that it's easy. We should give back to the community because that goes a long ways in helping individuals as well.
One other thing, if I could just
Absolutely.
just for a minute, that
Please.
really builds on what we were just talking about is that they're also very connected to what their message is, and they have a very strong sense of what they're offering, and what they've been successful at doing is creating a personal brand and a business brand that connects with their target audience. And that gets really back to everything you were just saying. Got to be very clear on what you're selling and why somebody wants it. And being able to tell that brand story very effectively, whether it's in a face-to-face customer situation or it's using digital channels. Social media is becoming more important to every business of every size. And knowing how to do that online in a digital way, sell your brand, tell your brand story so your potential customers know why should they choose you. What is the experience that you are going to be able to offer them?
I'm glad you mentioned social media. I want to reemphasize what Lane mentioned earlier. Feel free to tweet out what you're hearing. Absolutely. We want this message to get out to as many people as possible, and that's the beauty of social media. Let's go for you, Debbie. What do you think?
So successful small businesses have one consistent theme in the payments world, and it's cash flow. Good, strong cash flow. They know where their money is at all times. They know what expenses are going out. They know when income's coming in. It's one of the things that while you're doing the work of day to day, and we can get involved into it, do you know where your money's going? For example, if you're in the electronic payment space and you receive your monthly statement, It shouldn't take a PhD in pricing and interchange to understand your statements. You need to have that for reconciliation of your business, to understand the health of your business. And now that we're on the topic, why are you waiting for a monthly statement? You need to know now, in real time, the event that you just had, how successful was that day? Should you change it up the next day? So there are tools that are out there that can help you, and it's inexpensive/free tools that can give you the insights into your business. It's just a matter of employing the right techniques to watch that and know exactly the health of your business.
Just a follow-up question, though. I'm used to getting checks.
My goodness, if you're used to getting checks, then let's talk. So checks are rough, right? You have to wait for them to show up. You have to hope that there's a balance to pull against. It's a rough market. Checks and cash are the same in terms of the risks. There's inconsistency in reconciliation. It's tough. If you're in the electronic payment space, any brand, the point is to say, look, I want to put the sales where the sales are actually happening and make myself present and relevant there. And the electronic world gives you that real-time feedback, real-time protections, real-time security around the electronic payment space. Cash flow is key.
Lino, your thoughts, please.
I think that probably the biggest thing that I see from successful small businesses is that they're willing to embrace change, and Debbie used the word relevant, and I'll continue to use that throughout the panel. But I think it's important to be willing to embrace relevant change. Embracing change for the sake of change isn't very successful. And from a technology perspective, our most successful small businesses that we see are leveraging the technology to get their message out and be more relevant to their customers. And I think that as a resource for small businesses, we pride ourselves on, like I mentioned before, being an extension of that IT staff to help educate our customers on how to leverage the technology, get in front of their customers more, touch their customers more, and be able to focus on the things that everyone in this room is really, really good at in regarding their field. So whether it be social media, whether it be things like video conferencing, how can those types of things, I'll say the word now, we'll talk about it later, but the cloud, what is the cloud and what does it mean to me, and how can we leverage the cloud to make ourselves more successful? We really see that successful small businesses are willing to embrace it, but for the right reasons, and how to, using it to differentiate themselves from the competition.
And he gave me an education on the cloud in our radio interviews, so we will come back to that a little bit later. A lot of times we think that we're being successful, right? As an entrepreneur, as a small business owner, we get wrapped up in the day-to-day details. We think about being in the business. And sometimes we might miss the obvious. So the question here is focused on, what can I do today? What can I do today that's going to help me build for the long-term success for my business? Debbie, we'll start with you.
Sure. One of the things we hear a lot from small businesses, they don't necessarily define success by growth. And we see a lot of small businesses that start growing necessarily, but maybe not in a direction that they planned or that they want. So know whether you want a growth or no growth strategy. And if you have different business goals, be sure and know what those are, but have metrics for how you're going to measure your success. So have goals that you write down and you refer to on a weekly or daily basis. And if that goal is growth, by all means, think now about when you think that growth is going to come. Don't be afraid to put safeguards in to throttle that growth so you don't grow too quickly. Mm-hmm. And think now about what changes you're going to have to make to get to that next level. Is your business model one that it's going to require a big step or a big leap in terms of your processes, your infrastructure? Do you have the technology that you need that's going to help you go from serving a small user community to a bigger one? So rather than letting things evolve naturally, be sure and plan, know where you want to go in the next little while, whether it's 1 year, 3 years, and 5 years, what it is you want for your business.
Goal setting is crucial, and I think a lot of businesses struggle with that concept, and people have a tendency of confusing goals with strategies, right? And I think with that concept, how would you define, as a follow-up question, how would you define a goal?
A goal is really something that I want to accomplish or something I want to be. There's a principle that's talked a lot about in this really entertaining book called The 4-Hour Workweek by Timothy Ferriss. Has a lot of interesting concepts, even though most of us are always going to work more than 4 hours a week. But he talks about something called lifestyle design. And that's really, how do you want your work to fit into your life? So when I think about a goal, I think about what is it I want to be doing every day, both from a personal and a work standpoint. How does that blend into really leading one life?
Okay, great. Debbie, from your standpoint, can you add on to what can we do to build on our success?
And when today is the operative word. I read that in two different ways. So today, literally today, and then today sort of figuratively. Literally today, you're in the right place. You've come amongst friendlies, network with folks, make these connections. You mentioned that, folks feel alone, and it is hard to find other networks, but they are out there. This is a fantastic example of one. So make those connections. I can almost guarantee that there's a number of other folks sharing some of those same concerns. Now, from the more figurative today in general, one of the harder things to do is look objectively at your own business and think, am I doing the things that are reaching the customers? Am I providing a product or service that's interesting to them, specifically to payments? Am I making it easy to get the payment from them? So I look at things from the perspective of, you get an invoice in the mail, you open it up, it requires a check at some point. When you dust off the checkbook and get around to paying the few of them after you've collected them, then you'll get to it. So why not provide an easier way? Provide an electronic invoice with a link that's in an email that when people are actually reading their emails, they can click on the link, it can open up a page, you can pay instantly, and it's done. The consumer's happy because it's one less thing they have to remember to do, and the merchant's happy because they get their money faster, much faster. So reconciliation and follow-up and all of those nagging type of things, you can eliminate so much of the hassles just by streamlining a few elements of the business. So it's one of the suggestions to just think through, how are you perceived? Are you perceived sort of in the, and I'm not trying to be insulting, but more the antiquated paper-based send paper out? Or can you hop into the evolved space, which is not hard at all? We have non-technical tools. A number of folks in the room have non-technical tools that can help.
So you're telling me, Mark, stop taking those checks, right? All right. Go for it. What do you think?
I think it's, I heard some of the points made earlier. I think it's really important to network at events like this and to be able to create and develop partnerships in whatever industry you are, in whatever industry you're in, and also leverage partners like the four of us here, among many others, and be open and honest with not only your short-term goals but your long-term goals, because at the end of the day, like what was said before, you are not alone, and there are a lot of folks that are willing to help and take pride in seeing your companies succeed. And the best way that we can do that, especially within the technology space, because it's ever changing, is to have a better understanding of, how you're looking to leverage technology today, and how that could affect how you want to leverage it tomorrow. And growth plays a huge part in that. The last thing that I'd say successful small businesses see or do is to think too short term. So I think you have to balance that really well and be prepared to not only have short-term goals and strategies, but long-term goals and strategies as well, to continue to build on the investments that have already been made.
I love your comment about being alone. I mean, people do feel like they're on an island, like what the 17th green, is that right? The island, the famous island green. And you're right, I think events like this are certainly beneficial to help you network and meet other people, to get you out of that island and really to begin to exchange ideas. I think that's incredible. That's a terrific comment.
One thing I wanted to mention on that note is that we oftentimes hear from some businesses, well, I don't know anyone who's doing what I'm trying to do. But you really would be surprised how much we see small businesses learning from other small businesses that are in very different models. But maybe you have different goals. Very similar goals. Maybe you have similar challenges. And particularly when it comes to how you use technology, for example, you can learn lessons from what other companies have done in very different types of businesses. So don't let not knowing someone who is in your space prevent you from making those connections and finding other areas of peers that you can connect with and learn from.
And that leads me to my next question. I want to turn to Debbie to lead us off and kick it off. You know, challenges. And in businesses, we know there's a, relatively speaking, there are significant challenges on a daily basis. But I think I'm trying to overcome those challenges, but I'm not overcoming those challenges. What are some of the most significant challenges that small businesses have today?
How long do we have?
You have about 15 seconds.
Yeah. So let's be honest.
Cliff
We,
Notes version.
we could be here all day, right? I mean, you face challenges every single day. So one of the biggest things that I think you can do a ton of work to get to where you are, but one little gap is, are you placing yourself where the sales are happening? Are you allowing your customers to pay you in methods that they want to pay in? The world is evolving. It's going to mobile. It's going to social. If your followers are on Twitter or Facebook or any social media, are you just advertising that you have a new product there? Or are you dropping a link into that tweet that allows a person to spontaneously press the link, buy with a quick buy page, and move on with the rest of their feed? There are ways that you can capitalize on that spontaneous moment where someone can pay very, very quickly. Just like the checkout line at the supermarket, all the gum and snacks and goodies are there for a reason. It's the ability to capture and harness that in-the-moment feed. So if you're at a craft fair, for example, and someone sees the jewelry that you have, you need to have the hardware to swipe or take your phone with you and have a virtual terminal. You can push a payment on the fly. This doesn't have to be at the craft fair. This can be as you're doing in your normal life. People see things and comment, and capitalize on those opportunities to be where the sale could actually happen. Don't wait for it and hope that they come back to you. A billboard or an ad, or those are all elements of a critical plan. But in order to capture that and convert that into an actual sale is having the tools available to them. And most of the time, folks are looking for their wallet, or it's tough to find the natural intersection where those two meet, but you can make that happen for your customers.
I can just build on that. You know, one of the challenges we see is marketing today is a lot harder than marketing was literally only several years ago. Several years ago, to market your business, it was word of mouth, it still is today, or you would place a print ad in the Yellow Pages or your local publication. And when you think about what you need to do today, it's a totally different world. Marketing has become more really technical. Today, you have to build a website to be found. You know, there's good ways to build a website. There's not so good ways to build a website. That takes time. And the reality is, you know, most business owners, and you all know this, you don't have time to do that. Getting the word out, you know, about your business has also changed. It's still, that word of mouth is still really, really important, but word of mouth also comes from things like social media, Facebook, Twitter, really, really important, but it's become more technical because you need to speak in a certain, in your voice, and do it the right way so your business is accurately getting represented. So it's really different. I mean, marketing has become way more complicated, and it's even more complicated when you think about you have to run your job. You have to do your day business, and how do you balance those two things is a challenge.
And you referenced the technology, and that leads to Lino. You know, we talked earlier about technology and some of the challenges. Why don't you kind of piggyback on that point with respect to some of the challenges, including the crowd?
Well, I think it's really important to remember that technology has evolved quite a bit over the last 10 to 15 years, and it's constantly changing. And how can we as small businesses leverage that changing technology, again, to make ourselves more relevant to our customers? And in my opinion, and I'm the first to admit this, I am addicted to my phone, and I use it for a variety of different ways. And
I don't think anybody in this room is addicted to it.
I think it's important to continue to focus on building your business and stay accessible to your existing customers, right? So I think it's how can you leverage technology? And one of the challenges that we get from a lot of our customers is, well, mobility is a big play right now, and the cloud is a big play, and those solutions are way too expensive for a small business of my size. And at the end of the day, that couldn't be farther from the truth. But it's determining how you can leverage that technology and make it apply to how you're running your business. And again, give you time to focus more on bringing in new customers and staying accessible to your existing customers. And I think, from a cloud perspective, it increases the availability for you to incorporate more solutions into your business and stay more accessible and not necessarily have to manage, the infrastructure that would go into what we would call an on-premise type of technology or category. So I think there's a fine balance that can be made between, resources that you have within your organizations and leveraging cloud-type providers, whether it be software as a service, unified communications as a service. We have a tremendous amount of small businesses that leverage video today that, a year ago would never have ever thought that they would be capable of leveraging something like that. And how neat is it for someone to click a button on a website and have a face pop up from that organization to help them with whatever need that they're looking to do. That instant gratification just enhances the customer experience for any small business, tremendously. And that's what we look to help small businesses do is leverage the technologies based on their business model and how to incorporate that and move forward.
From our discussions that we've been having off the stage, I think that's a very common theme across the businesses that are here today.
Mm-hmm.
We're all taking technologies or systems or processes that in the recent past may have been employed primarily by larger companies that had larger teams with expertise to decode and understand and apply some of these things, where it's our responsibility as being from companies who really are passionate about investing and supporting small business to take those solutions, bring them, make them more accessible, and not just the solutions themselves, but information education on how those solutions can help you solve business problems.
Go ahead, please.
One thing I was going to say about technology, it's very easy to be overwhelmed by technology. There are, the pace of technology advancement is massive. And, we get a lot of questions on how do I make sense of all that? And, one of the things I often recommend is don't start with the technology first. Start with what are you trying to accomplish with your business? What are you trying to do to better communicate to your customers, better serve your customers, and better interact with your customers? And when you start with that in mind, when you start with how do I better serve my customers, then go look for the tools, processes, and technology that you can leverage to make it better. But when you start with the customer in mind first, you're far better off. If you start with, there's all this cool stuff out there, what do I pick? It can be very daunting and almost impossible to pick where to start first.
I think, and that's a nice segue into my next part of the conversation, which is I've been in business. I've hit the wall. And I think I know my customer base. Later, I'm going to turn to you to start off this discussion, but how do I take my business to the next level? Again, I've hit the wall. I'm getting a little bit frustrated. Talk to me.
Well, I think the biggest thing to keep in mind is be open and honest with any partner or any network that you've put together in terms of the struggles that you might be having, or that what is causing that roadblock, or if you don't know, be open and honest with the experiences that either you might be having or that your customers might be having with your business, and start that open dialogue to determine new ways or different ways to attack and not get stuck at the same point over and over again. We see that quite a bit, and back to the "you're not alone" category. You're not alone, and whether you're in a particular vertical or a particular, you provide a particular set of services, there are folks that have been there before that can be leveraged to help circumvent challenges that pop up at any time. And I would say that from a technology standpoint. One thing that you want is flexibility and scalability, because I'm guessing that everybody is here to grow their business and to add more coworkers eventually and things of that nature. And what's the best thing that we can do to overcome those challenges is to be open and honest with any partnership that you're working with. And it's not, don't be ashamed to ask for help, because everybody's been there. And brainstorming is an excellent thing, and leveraging things like social media and things of that nature is very, very helpful. And I think a lot of small businesses take great advantage of that.
Jason, you've been working with businesses for several years now with Web.com. From your perspective, what does it take to get it to the next level?
Unfortunately, like everything else, there's no one silver bullet. One of the things that when we see businesses really begin to thrive, they've become really successful about getting their target market to get them to know that they're out there. And that can be a challenge, as we talked about before. You're still business, conducting your trade, conducting your craft. How do you let everyone know that you exist and you're here to help and serve them? One of the biggest opportunities small businesses have today is to figure out how can they use the internet to get their business out there. And the opportunities are really large. It's how do I get my website found? How do I get my business promoted on Bing, on Yahoo, on Google, on all the directories where people are looking for information this year? How do I get my business to be more credible online? The reality is your customers, your consumers are moving online in droves. They're starting their first, second, and third to get information about what's out there. And the more you can capitalize on that, the more you'll have that as a tailwind driving your business forward. By every measure, the number of websites out there, the number of visitors going online, the internet is growing at a large double-digit rate. And if you can just capitalize on a small portion of that, you'll be that much better off.
Okay. Angela, please.
I would encourage you then to sit down and take a hard look at what you're doing with your time, right? And that's one of the challenges of being a small business owner, is wearing so many hats. And we see one thing that small businesses have trouble doing sometimes is keeping the main thing the main thing. It's really focused on your customer and your product and the experience that you're providing. And are you on a daily basis spending too much time solving problems that are only impacting 20% of your business, rather than looking at where 80% of your revenue is coming from, understanding how you can make that a better customer experience, how you can solidify those relationships, and how you can find more customers like that? Or are you spending too much of your time solving problems in terms of how you're taking payment and your technology? Making some hard decisions about how you can off-ramp some of those problems to other people, whether they be external partners or internal resources, that can help solve some of those problems so that you can get back to focusing on the main thing.
Okay, please.
Absolutely. So if you have a successful channel, and in this case, perhaps it's a storefront or a brick and mortar, the next thing that you can do is look for, and I'll use the word liberally, the omni-channel solution. This is basically the fancy word to say, where else can you reach out and get exposure to your business? For example, if you have that brick and mortar, the storefront, you get a website, that's a brand new channel. Now that you've dropped your zip code, you've dropped your geography and opened your business up to a much greater audience. If you're already in the online space, maybe then you could enter into social and start working those social channels as well. The key is, how do you do that? And I'll relay back to Angela's comment. It's really about working smart, not working hard. Although working hard is important, it's really about leveraging the resources that you have. If you expand into e-commerce, for example, do you have the bandwidth to manage the uptick in inventory, the customer inquiries that are going to come through different channels, et cetera? What you want to do is pick technology that enables you to do all of those channels with one solution. Again, from the payment side, minimize the complexities and have everything funnel into nice, one crisp, clean place so that that part's out of the way. But select and build your solutions in a manner that you can watch your brick and mortar continue to grow, advertise and cross-sell from within the physical space, online. You can do discounts and promotions, leveraging social media as well. So I think omni-channel is really the key, and again, that's a fancy buzzword, but it really means enable yourself to be seen in so many different ways where, again, customers are shopping.
We've discussed critical, key attributes in order to be successful. We've also captured challenges, and again, I'm asking you to take notes and jot down your questions so you can ask questions in the panel a little bit later. We've also addressed some of the challenges and things of that sort with respect to businesses. From your business standpoint, Jason, what resources do you offer to help small businesses succeed?
Sure. Well, our business is about helping small businesses market online. That's what we do. And as I mentioned before, figuring out where to start can be relatively daunting because there's many places to start. So where we start is having a conversation with any business owner, talking about what should we approach first. If you don't have a website, you need a website. You got to have one. If you have a website, we'll look at it. Does it work? There's many people build websites that, quite frankly, don't work. And the reason why they do that is they build websites that look pretty. But they don't build them with the perspective of getting me phone calls, getting people to visit my store, getting people to send me leads. So we'll look at your website to see, is it working for you? Is it really fulfilling your business purpose? If it is, great. Then you move down the list. We look at social media. Social media is a place where you have an opportunity to build your brand and get businesses to know about who you are in your community. It's another way to have a conversation with folks in your community instead of using the phone. So these are the types of things that we do, but it all starts with understanding what you're doing and what you're not doing.
Yeah. Angela, please.
Well, one nice thing about working as for FedEx is I don't usually have to explain what we do. So you probably know that what we do is help small businesses get their products shipped and get their inventory in, and we also help with print solutions as well. But as more and more businesses are going online, shipping is becoming a bigger part of what you do. And so we have taken a big step back in the business cycle and are really trying to help small businesses understand when they're getting ready to start a business and getting ready to start shipping, what are some of the things that they can do to make sure that they're setting up their business processes in a way that's going to minimize the amount of time that they have to spend managing it. Another thing that we're doing is really helping a lot of small businesses understand how they can start doing business in other countries. A lot of the growth that's coming up, growth opportunities for businesses on our other markets. It can be somewhat daunting to think about how am I going to get paid if I have a customer in Canada or Mexico or South America? How am I going to get my goods there? I don't know much about customs, or I'm worried about that. So we are trying to take a step back and help customers understand how they shouldn't necessarily not take that step because there are resources out there to help them. And we have certainly heard and seen from customers that just like all of us in the room, when we want information, we want it now. So we try to make that information to help you understand how to solve problems and leverage opportunities online. So at resources like fedex.com/smallbusiness, fedex.com/e-commerce, we are providing more and more best practices that we've uncovered with small businesses, tools and tips to help overcome some of those barriers to open up new opportunities. One thing that I'm particularly excited about that I did earlier this year is create a couple of Get Started guides, one Get Started Shipping and one Get Started International, that we created specifically from the input from the small business grant winners I mentioned earlier. I brought a bunch of copies. They're outside on a table, and it's also online at fedex.com/smallbusiness.
So a follow-up question to you directly, or anybody on the panel. I know we want to address the other questions, but I hear you about globalization. I'm a small business, and I just opened up, I've been open Southside, near Town Center, or North Jacksonville, or anywhere across the Jacksonville area, and my business is really focused in Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. Talk to me, help. I'm not concerned about overseas at this point, so how do I take my business to the next level locally?
Sure, I mean, I can help with that. The internet is incredibly powerful. The internet has the ability to take your business globally, nationally, and it also has the opportunity to really focus and penetrate on people who are looking online for businesses like yours. So for example, within the search engines, Bing, Yahoo, Google, you have the ability to make sure that your business is promoted explicitly to people that are living in your market. And that's a very powerful tool that I would tell you 5-10 years ago, you didn't have that benefit. 5-10 years ago, you had to take an ad out in a newspaper or some other publication that was going to be seen by people that either didn't live in your market or lived in your market but weren't necessarily searching for what you served, and you still paid for that ad. So the internet provides you that opportunity. The other thing that is very, very powerful is, and we talked about this before a little bit with social media, is with social media, you now have the opportunity to make sure that your messages are promoted to people that live within your area or the areas that you serve. Not only can you promote it to the people that live in your area, but you can also promote it to people based on the interests that they've said that they stated that they're interested in. And as you all know, many of you have Facebook accounts, and you tell us what you love. You tell it a lot, and be careful what you put on there. But as a business owner, that information is targetable. So if you are in the market for, if you're a plumber, for example, or a taxi service, and you say, yikes, I really need help with XYZ, that's queryable. So technology has advanced to the point where you can really get down to marketing your business at a very, very local level, but not only very local level, but one where people's interests and passions and really what they're looking for can be targeted.
I think some businesses make the mistake of thinking if I'm not trying to sell online and to other markets outside of my area, such as Jacksonville, I don't need to have a strong online presence. But that's actually very false for all the reasons that you mentioned. And it's because it's an important place to be telling your brand story. We talked earlier about the importance of getting discovered, establishing why a customer would want to buy from you, somebody else. So every time you're connecting with somebody online, that's your big chance to serve up your elevator pitch and make that connection and tell your brand story. So whether or not your customer is down the block or across town, you're looking for and developing those opportunities to really create that connection.
Debbie, from your standpoint, resources to help small businesses.
Absolutely. So MasterCard is all about education. Electronic payments shouldn't be anything that's mystical. It's pretty simple, it's pretty straightforward, but without the information, it's hard to move to the next step. So we have a number of different resources. Simplify Commerce is one of them. It's a tool that can be leveraged. But we also have all sorts of educational venues, MasterCard Business Network, easy savings programs for business card holders, all sorts of benefits that are out there and freely accessible to questions, concerns. We are actually real people. The brand is large, but there's actually real people that can sit down and talk with you through some of these things. It's not. It's more that I get concerned about the lack of information getting to the right hands versus just sort of perpetuating some of the confusion about cash and the business in general. So we have all sorts of educational resources out there for you specifically, as opposed to the one-size-fits-all with larger merchants sometimes. It really is unique and different with small businesses.
Nino, please chime in.
So this is probably my most favorite topic because before I took over our Florida team, my title was Unified Communications Solution Architect, and one of the biggest responsibilities that I had was to work with customers on developing strategies to leverage unified communications to, again, enhance their customer experience, stay in front of their customers more often, and leverage things like social media and video conferencing and things of those natures to continue to grow the business. And CDW has a wide variety of resources, not just in the unified communication space, but I mentioned some of the things like aggregation services or cloud or mobility, security, software licensing. All of those things are extremely, extremely difficult to get down deep in terms of a knowledge base. And at the end of the day, you don't need to. That's what partners are there for. And just to kind of give you a little bit of background on how a meeting would go with a customer of mine as a solution architect, it would be all questions from my perspective and listening for the first probably hour of that meeting to get a better understanding of what the goals of that organization were. And the beauty of those resources is that they all work together too, because you want to make sure you have a consistent technology strategy among all of those different categories. And it's really important not just necessarily to think short term about a new phone system or leveraging video, but how is that going to be incorporated with how you run your business from a software licensing standpoint, or where are you hosting your data storage, or is it on-prem, is it in the cloud, and how do all those different categories work together to again enhance your customer's experience and to keep that excellent experience consistent as you continue to grow.
Excellent. Angela, I'm going to pose this question to you, lead off the panel discussion. Recently, I was speaking at another event, and I also write a business column focused on small business development, and I get people who write me and say, hey, I saw you speak, or I read an article that you wrote. I have this great business idea. And I literally was walking off the stage and someone cornered me and said, Mark, I have this idea. I said, what is it? And they told me. I said, okay, and I asked some very basic questions. They said, what are you ready to do? They said, I'm ready to launch it. I said, you are, but you just told me you had the idea. So my question is this, where do I get started? I think I have a great idea. How do I get started?
Very thoroughly. So we see a lot of people talk about the statistics of the percentage of small businesses that fail. And it definitely takes a lot more than the things we've talked about already, such as passion and a great idea. So it's really leveraging your capabilities and where you have knowledge gaps, leveraging resources to figure out what is really your plan. So, who is your target market? How are you going to reach them? What is your revenue stream going to be? What's your cost model going to be? So really thinking through all of the aspects it's going to take to bring that business to reality. And part of that also, quite frankly, is assessing what is your risk tolerance, right? So knowing going into this, how big a step are you going to take, or how small a first step are you going to take? There's lots of things there's a lot of great resources and learning out there that can be applied to a new business getting started. One of my favorites is Lean Startup, if anybody's read that. A lot of great ideas that help small businesses understand how one of the most important things you can do is learn quickly. Put your idea out there in a small way, test it, learn, and then pivot and change so that you don't get too far down the line. You don't build out a very complicated product or business model because it's what you would like as a customer, what's important to you. But you're finding opportunities early on to test your ideas with your customers or potential customers to see if you're on the right track. Some of the most successful business stories out there, some brands we'd all be familiar with, weren't successful initially because their initial idea wasn't quite on target with what the market wanted. They were creating a service that wasn't quite exactly what was needed of interest. But from their very early on process, while they were still really able to stay in that startup and had the funding to keep growing, they pivoted and created something that was slightly different.
If I could just build on that.
Absolutely.
I completely agree. Whatever idea you have, I could tell you when you'll bring it to market, it will change. Yeah. And the best way to determine if it's a really good idea is if people are willing to buy it.
Yep.
And
not to say that they will buy it, but to actually
buy it. You will have, because it's very easy. You're gonna create a business plan. You're gonna create your idea, and you're gonna show all your friends, family, and loved ones, and they're all gonna tell you, absolutely, I would buy it, because that's why they're there. But until you actually get your first dollar, then you truly know, and that's really the opportunity for you to figure stuff out. If make a little change here, make a little tweak here, you will learn so much so quickly. But you have to go into it with that mindset of, your idea is your foundation, but you need to be flexible to adapt to what the market is telling you. What's really important about that, however, and we touched on it already, is don't go all in with the first idea. Go in with the mindset of like, I'm going to put my best foot forward, but I recognize that there's a decent chance that it won't work. So I'm going to save some in the kitty to give me an opportunity to test, to learn. And the key to doing that is just start small. What is the minimal amount of capital that you need to put into this business to prove that the concept works? And once you prove that the concept works, access to capital, access to partners, access to vendors will come. But you have to prove the concept, and you have to prove the concept in the market.
I'm so confident, though, that this is going to be successful. I have talked to my family. I have talked to my friends. And you know what? And I talked to 10 other people. And I took it to an art fair, the Jacksonville Arts Festival, and people said they loved the concept. I am ready to go. I'm ready to go. I'm confident. But I don't have a multi-million-dollar budget to launch it either. What do I do?
Start small.
I tell that example for a reason. Share that example because it's very common. It's very common, and people want to share big ideas. And I think that's excellent advice is to start small.
Just to kind of encapsulate that, I think one way to look at that is that your focus early on can be in terms of learning. So it's not really making money initially, but learning. So you are not necessarily creating products or services where you have the biggest margin, but maybe you're creating smaller runs of product so that you're not really testing how much money you can make, but you're testing if you have a product that's sellable, right? So you start small, focusing on what you're going to learn as rapidly as possible, knowing that you have a plan for how it's going to be profitable, but early on, your focus is on learning and testing and validating before you start scaling to where you really get the income potential.
Debbie, I'd like to give you an opportunity, and Lino as well.
Consistent theme here is build the dynamite business plan. This is the know thy customer. Reach out, and it is beyond the friends and family network, which are always extremely supportive, regardless. The truth is you need to know, you may have a phenomenal idea, but how is it unique? How is it different from the 6 others that are semi-similar? Or even if you think it's terribly different, how do you get the consumer to know that it's different? How is that awareness distributed? So it's a mixture of everything from, do you know your customer, where they shop, where they live? What does that market behaviorally expect from you? Do you know what the characteristics are of your product that you can market effectively through the various tools, search engine marketing, SEO, search engine optimization, any of the other tools to get that word out there? And then are you sufficiently capitalized to the extent that you can afford the test and learn process to really test it out? Try it small, learn, evolve very, very quickly. But know that the solutions that you brought on board to help you are ones that are going to be running on their own, and you can focus on that good product or service. The key that I've heard over and over is that people tend to, again, with the working hard and working smart, focus on firefighting. Some of the little problems which turn into big problems that should be resolved by leveraging good tools and resources that can really help minimize the noise in the system.
Lino, please.
Yeah, I think garnering that feedback is really important, and when you get the feedback above and beyond, the friends and family, it's important to leverage probably what, in my opinion, is small business's biggest advantage is the flexibility and being nimble. Decisions can be made a lot quicker and a lot more strategic, in my opinion, with small businesses than enterprise corporations because there's less red tape. And feedback is always a gift, and I would take that feedback, whether it's positive or constructive, and leverage it, whether it be with technology or logistics or online marketing, and determine ways to get that message out, whether it be repeating positive experiences from your customers or changing constructive criticism that you might get from your customers, and leverage that flexibility that small businesses typically have to continue to evolve and to continue to improve.
Before we move on from that topic, I just wanted to mention a resource that I heard from a lot of the small business grant winners that they found to be a very helpful framework to kind of map out their business when they're getting started. The business model canvas is something that a lot of entrepreneurs are using. Just Google that online. There's lots of free templates online you can use. It comes from a book called The Business Model Generation. And on one page, it really runs you through all the categories of decision making that you need, from your target audience to the channels to the cost model, your revenue streams. Helps you think through and visualize on the page to see if there's any gaps in your plan. It's just a really good structured way to kind of attack it. There's some great YouTube videos. There's one called Lean Canvas, 20-minute video by Ashmar, who kind of runs you through how to think through and answer those questions. It's just a really good framework to kind of help you get yourself organized and see how close are you really to being ready to take your idea to reality.
In our remaining 15 minutes, there are 3 more topics I want to go through, then we'll open it up for Q&A. But one I briefly just want to capture, I heard you mention several times the brand. So the power of the brand. Talk to me about the power of the brand. And is the brand important to me as an entrepreneur? Is it important to me as a small business owner? I have this great product, so I can just sell the product, right? No, talk to me about the brand.
Sure. So branding yourself as well as your business is so critical. It's more than just the name that people will come to recognize. It's how you conduct yourself in the marketplace. It's the people that you hire that you're entrusting with your livelihood when you're not there. It's so critical to develop the persona that you want to convey, which will also attract that type of consumer as well. So brand is critical in that you want to make sure that it's marketed appropriately and it's differentiated and you have your own unique flair on the brand. But it's also critical to act and behave in a manner that is what you expect as a consumer also. Great customer service, good feedback, responsiveness, above board, taking the high road. If there's issues or concerns, the customer is always right. Doesn't mean you can fire your customer from time to time. But it's really critical to know what is that persona that you wish to project and then convey that through the website property, through your interactions at the local fairs of the local groups, and to make sure that that is crystal clear, that you are on the up and up, you're above board, you're there to help and serve, whatever the product or service may be. But the brand is absolutely critical.
Yeah, just to build on that, people think a brand is tied to the $1 million advertising campaign that you're going to put on TV. And that's a component of it, but ultimately the brand is, what do you want to be known for? And I would encourage all of you to write down on a piece of paper, I want my business to be known for this. And that's actually a really good exercise to go through, because once you write it on paper, then look at, from the customer's perspective, when I walk into my store, if you have a store, does it convey what I want my business to be known for? When I shop from my store, is it the experience that I want to be known for? When I return my product and service, when someone wants to make a return, is it what I want to be known for? Think about every possible way that a customer can interact with your business, and are they interacting with your business in a way that you want to stand for? And that is the foundation how you build a brand, because whatever money you spend on TV and radio to tell people what you're about, but if it's not really what you're about, you will waste all that money. And a brand starts with, what do you stand for, and how do you want to treat the customers as they're going through your door?
Angela?
And that's how you really create authentic brand, right? It's really articulating what the experience is that you're really offering, not saying one thing and then selling something else. Unfortunately, we've come a long way from the days where I think brand was really viewed as the logo and what the name of your company was. It's really all about the experience and making an experience that is authentic to your company and unique. And everything that Debbie said is exactly right. And you do need to be deliberate about thinking about what you want to be. And so it's particularly as you start to grow and you take on your first or your second or your third employee or engage with an external partner, be very deliberate about defining what you want that corporate culture to be. And think about every person that you hire really should be a brand ambassador, right? Because people are very visible in social media as individuals, and there's more and more, there's not a line between a person as an employee and a person as an individual. So every time you decide to associate with someone, be sure that you're communicating with them what your culture is, what your brand values are, and making sure that every partner or resource you take in is reflective of those same brand values.
Would you like to add anything?
I think writing the brand down, or what the ideas of what goes into your brand, is really, really important. And our company does it. We call it the CDW way, and it's on everybody's desks. And it's how do you treat your customers? How do you treat your coworkers? Are you enhancing your customers' experience? Are you making sure that you're that consultant for helping them achieve success in their business and things of that nature? So I think writing it down and making sure that it's always a focus is really important, because if you don't, you could lose track of it pretty quickly, and it's a lot harder to rebuild that brand than it is to build it once and stick to it over time.
That's part of that, keeping the main thing the main thing.
Yep.
We're going to move on. We have a couple more topics, but I don't know what John Kurzman is. Where's John? Anyway, I just want to say that branding is near and dear to my heart. I've been fortunate enough to rebrand major national organizations, including one here in Jacksonville. And the beauty of that is everything that the panel is suggesting is absolutely spot on. It's just very crucial as a business, whether you're an entrepreneur, an established, or a growing business. Your brand is critical. It's crucial. It's you. And when you're out in the streets of Jacksonville, you represent the brand. You are the brand. Something to think about. I want to stick with you, there's a lot of risk out there. It's about technology. There's a lot of concern about security, a lot of concern about privacy right now. It's been in the news constantly. People hacking and breaching data and things of that sort. That's a huge business risk. Talk to us.
Sure, I think and we talked about this a little bit in the interview earlier, I think it's important to find a really good balance between being in front of your customers as much as possible and making sure that your interactions with them and their information and your information are secure. And we talked a little bit about different resources that are out there for small businesses, whether it be in the technology space or some of the other categories as well. And I think it's important to realize that as you develop relationships with partners and vendors and things of that nature, that to have discussions about the security aspect of whatever you're talking about is critical. And if you're doing business with a reputable partner, or you're doing business with a reputable we'll leave it at partner, but I think it's important for them to make sure that they're clear on how your information is secure and how your customers' information is secure, because we talked about building brand, and security is huge in terms of maintaining that brand, because the last thing, we saw it I think this week with Home Depot, and we saw it with Target, they're still overcoming that type those types of disasters. So making sure that you're putting in, you're leveraging technology to enhance your customer experience while keeping it all secure. It's finding that balance and leveraging your resources to do
From a
so.
web.com perspective, internet, how do I know that the data is certainly secure?
Yeah, it's it's a really interesting topic. I'm just going to comment on that in a couple of different ways.
Sure.
One of the things that we see a lot of is this won't happen to me. I'm too small. They're going after the really big guys out there, and I'm not going to invest in security and protection. And let me kind of give you some perspective on it. I think most of you in the room would agree with the statement that there's a decent chance that my business is at risk for vandalism. There's a decent chance that someone could steal money from the cash register. There's a decent chance that someone could steal precious files from my business. All of those could happen to me, and that's true. But there's a very clear parallel to vandalizing your store and vandalizing your website. As business goes online, the bad guys have changed too. So graffiti doesn't appear on the walls of your store as much. It can appear on the walls of your website. People don't steal from the cash register as much anymore because they can have access to the credit card information that gets transacted online. Your domain name is the keys to your website. If you lose those keys, you could lose your website because whoever owns the domain name owns the website. So, one of the biggest challenges we're always facing is this is serious stuff, and it can happen to you because, all those other things, vandalism and theft, happens offline. The bad guys have moved online. And I would tell you the best way to know that you're protected on this is really the simplest thing is this stuff is complicated. It's technical, and you really want to have a partner that is large enough in scale and scope to know that they have the technology to protect you, really the security system to protect you. So things that are like an alarm system that can tell you someone's trying to tamper with your site or someone's trying to steal your domain name. You also want to make sure that your cash register is secure. So having a MasterCard or someone with that level of scale, make sure that they're the ones processing the transactions, keeping the bad guys out, is one of the best ways to start.
Angela, and then Debbie, and we'll move on to our final
I
topic.
was just going to say quickly that this is not a category where you want to try to become a self-expert and make your own decisions. This is an area where to invest in expertise and resources to help you stay in the golden area on this one.
So step up to Debbie's therapy leather couch on this one from the Payments Gal. This is a huge deal. It doesn't seem like we can get through a week or so without hearing some other story of some exposure. The biggest thing is that most of these are criminal attacks, malicious behaviors, intent by bad people doing bad things, exploiting vulnerabilities in the systems. So watch for your own vulnerabilities. Watch for trustworthy employees. Human elements are at nature in all of our businesses. Watch for systems. Get state-of-the-art encryption and tokenization and all of those big fancy words that basically say, back to what Angela was saying, leave it to the experts that actually do watch that data. You shouldn't have whole credit card numbers sitting on your servers. They shouldn't be sitting on your desk. How often do we open up a bill in the mail and there are the boxes where you can write in your credit card number? Don't do this, people. It has to go from there in the mail to a person that sits at a desk and opens it and transcribes it somewhere else. Your card is so out there. So there are so many different new and exciting ways to tokenize and protect that card number such that your business is protected from a reputational perspective, but your customers are protected and safe to shop with you again. It's a big deal.
So we've gone through a plethora of topics, a lot of information. And everybody's looking at us thinking, wow, this is some good stuff. You've given us a lot of information this afternoon. However, in closing, maybe 45 seconds, 30 to 45 seconds, each one of you, starting with you, Jason, if there's one thing, there's one key takeaway that you want the audience to walk away from today's discussion, what would it be?
What I would say is there is no one thing. What I would say is you all should pick the one thing and commit to doing it. Right now, I know everyone in the room is excited about the potential of all the things you heard. And you're writing down about all of the opportunities you can go and implement in your business, and there's excitement in your heart and in your mind about the opportunity to come by doing these things. And the day will overtake you. You will go back to doing your day job because you're busy people. So if you're going to do one thing today, commit to doing one thing when you leave this room. And that is my one thing.
Okay, good. Short and to the point. What do you think, huh?
Okay.
Angela, please.
I'm going to expand that a little bit to kind of three things, but it's very similar. So it's really focus on your business, your customers, and what they need. It's really the same thing. So be aware of what your competition's doing, being aware of some of what are the other aspirational business models that you're interested in doing, but don't try to be all things to all people. Understand what your very authentic and personal brand experiences you want to deliver, and stay focused on that, and find out and figure out what is your real unique value that you offer to your customers. Really hone in on that, and that's what will really enable you to make that big leap to success and sustain success. If you really identify that and stay true to that and continue to innovate and reinvent, but always with your customer at the center.
Debbie, your words of wisdom.
Evolve or perish. It's critical. Once you've connected to systems or solutions, payments again in particular, that's over with. Move on to the next thing. No, it shouldn't have been that hard in the first place. There are tools to make this easier. When you've got it up and running, then continually look, am I using the best, most interesting, most evolved tool that's out there that covers security and all of the issues that you can address? Keep on top of it. Just don't let things sit and languish, because your competitors will take that next piece of technology or something and leapfrog somewhere in the space. So evolve or perish, never settle, and get ready to hustle, because it's a 24/7 job.
Last but not least, your comments.
I would say that, at the beginning I mentioned that of all my years at CDW, being part of our small business segment has been the most enlightening and most beneficial to me personally. And the reason why that is you all have an excellent opportunity to leverage technology that's being developed by our largest partners, the Ciscos, the Microsofts, the HPs of the world, that are specifically focused on small business and how that technology can help small businesses succeed. So don't be afraid to ask questions, learn more about it, learn more about how you can leverage those solutions to enhance your customer experience, because if I had to put a number on it, I'd say probably 80% of their time is going into developing solutions specifically for the folks in this room, and don't miss out.
Let's give our panel a round of applause, please. I think, some words of wisdom that we can all use, whether or not we're new in business or we're growing. This is a diverse group of panel, a diverse group of people, diverse group of businesses. And I think they've offered some words of wisdom that we can all benefit from. So thank you very much. We really appreciate that. What we'd like to do is to give you the opportunity for the next 10 or 15 minutes or so before we wrap up for the day to ask questions. And I think what we have microphones in the aisles here. Right? Okay. And if you have a question, just line up behind the microphone. And if you want to address it to a specific person, please do so. Do we have any questions? Introduce yourself as well, please.
Yes, hi. I'm Mark Good, real estate broker in the area. All of the discussion on branding, of course, is very important once they get to know you or you've answered a lead. But in terms of generating the lead, what's your thoughts on, so many customers, online customers, sort of hide behind the internet until they want to give their information. Branding versus non-branding landing pages is what I'm getting to. And do you recommend those, or should you brand yourself from the start, or should you try to get the lead on a less branded type landing page?
What I would tell you is your brand should be present everywhere. So the way you want to think about your brand is wherever a customer can interact with you in any possible way, you want to make sure you stay true to your brand character. So if that's a website, if that's a landing page, what you stand for needs to be present there, because ultimately that's going to be the little hidden element of what will get someone to interact with you.
Anybody else want to address it?
I think you're spot on. Brand needs to be everywhere, absolutely everywhere.
Anybody else? Other questions? Question, okay. Please.
Hi. My name's Al Bagocious, and I'm in the print industry, and that's very competitive. Here's a question for Web.com. I'm going to take one person's word out of their mouth, and that is evolve or perish. What is Web.com doing about Vistaprint, who is pushing very hard to be one of the leaders of web development for small companies? Will Web.com get into the print industry by creating a portal system to be very competitive with Vistaprint?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Possibly. Look, we're very focused on helping small businesses succeed online. That's what we do. And the reason why we're focused on that is the online space is evolving so quickly. Google, Yahoo, Bing, Yelp, CitySearch, Twitter, you name it, they innovate at a rate that is so fast that consumers love, but small businesses are, they struggle to figure that out. So right now, at least, I know where we're focusing our time on is helping businesses figure that stuff out. But we do, in fact, offer some print-related solutions, but I would tell you that it's probably not the dominant area of focus for us right now.
Thank you very much.
Question over here to our, okay, please, hi.
Hi. Good morning. My name is Rosalind Marshall-Jones. I'm the owner of Jacksonville's Best Caregivers. I am a customer of Web.com. Let me go ahead and advertise. I have elderly clients between the ages of 95 and 102 that refuse to do credit card payments. They're checks. That's just a generational thing for them. They will not allow me to process their payments by credit card. Help.
That's a great question and comment that we hear regularly. It is a generational issue. Technology does sort of obviously embraced more by the younger folks. The key is education around how exposed that they are at that point. And I work with it with my own grandmother who's 95 and outstanding at trying to embrace technology, but it's still a learning curve. The key is to understand that with the check, there are so many vulnerabilities whereby the consumer is not protected and you may never see your money. At the end of the day, the card has so much that's encrypted onto it, including the 3-digit CVC code in the back, that make that card protect the consumer such that if she does have someone do fraud activity on her card, she can call that up, cancel it, and she is completely liability free. So the protections are really around protecting the cardholder themselves and protecting you, the business, when fraud occurs. When it's checks, it's fair game. Everyone is a loser in that case. It's really about the education, and it is sort of a one-by-one. You'll have to work with them because they just do have natural concerns.
We have a question over here, and then we'll come back over here.
Hi, my name is Kimberly Jordan, and I have a question about marketing. I'm going to do some crowdfunding through Indiegogo, but I'm trying to kind of be twixt. Should I just do a marketing company that want $36,000 just to cover a year, or should I just do, the social media, the YouTubes, the blogs, and the vlogging still? So what would be the best route for me for marketing?
I'm sorry, what is the business?
My business is Samba Mass. It's more geared towards the West Indian culture of their celebration during Carnival. So my audience is basically in the West Indies, Greater Antilles, Lesser Antilles. So my brand is basically more international, more than just based in the States.
And so your question is, should you do more social media versus build a website?
Yeah, for marketing.
Yeah, there's really no wrong answer or right answer to that question. There's many ways to start. It really depends on what it is you're trying to sell and the service you're trying to provide. Off first blush, I would tell you that it sounds like you're trying to build a community. And when you're trying to build a community, social media is the perfect outlet for building a community. It's the ideal place for you to have a conversation with members of that community. So if you don't start with social media, I would certainly tell you that is a component of your online marketing that you want to quickly do.
Starting with social media also enables you to kind of test your message, right, and adjust it. So even in different channels or day by day, you can try different ways, and with connecting different images, different messages, you can do different types of testing to kind of hone in on what's the best way for you to connect with your target audience.
Thank you.
All right, let's go here. I'm sorry, here. It's kind of hard to see the lights. I apologize. Over here? All right. Let's go over here to my right, and then we'll go over here, back here, please.
Thank you. I'm Carol Christofferson, President, Founder of Florida Service Dogs. This is Izzy. And thank you for the interpreters, by the way. That's like awesome first. I'm a disabled vet, late deafened, so I speak, I read lips. And I started my program, Florida Service Dogs, back in '99 because of the ignorance of service animals and education about people with disabilities and those of us who are late deafened. The issues I have are kind of the opposite. I reach my market sometimes a little bit too far because our name is Florida Service Dogs. I created my logo and everything when I was going to UNF years ago in college. It was just a dream of mine, and all of a sudden the interpreters started passing out my stuff. So that's how we kind of got started. And then the issues I have are, because I am late deaf and being the president, most everywhere I go, nothing's accessible. The internet that I have, I live out in the middle of nowheres, the west side of Jacksonville, so I don't have the bandwidth to be able to use the video relay and stuff. So I struggle actually returning phone calls. To me, that's old school because I'm deaf and I use the relay. Yesterday, I sat at home most all afternoon trying to return calls from possible clients or people wanting information about service animals or education, and I get the same old school answer of, no, I'm not interested, click, because they don't know what the relay service is. So the problem I have is the people we work with are like the other lady. They're people with disabilities, low income, no income, elderly, or whatever, and they don't have the computer either. So they make a phone call, and so I'm a struggle communicating with them back and forth just because of my own disability. And attending any kind of events with the Chamber of Commerce or the web.com. We are a web.com. Our website is through them, which I don't know how to use it. We have a website, but it sucks. So we can't afford. We're a small program. We don't have employees. We don't have, we're the poor dog program kind of thing. So I really struggle in getting funds in because our market are people with disabilities. We joke about, a lot of people tell me I need to get new friends because our clients are people with disabilities. So trying to get people to come and help us around, doing the dogs and stuff, it's difficult because everybody we deal with are people with disabilities. So
if I could ask,
some issues, yeah.
If I could ask in terms of what specifically would you like the panel to address?
The technology,
Okay.
to be able to return calls, and dealing with the clients that we deal with kind of thing. Most people don't understand that, president of an organization can actually have a disability and be deaf and speak and read lips. So that's something I struggle with every day. How do I communicate with my clients when they don't email or they don't text, when they're not in that market? Because I have to use the relay service to contact people, even vendors that I deal with.
Okay, great.
Call me directly.
Thank you. Who on the panel would like to address?
Blank.
Anybody?
It's a great question,
Okay.
honestly, and it's a problem. I think it resonates with everyone as you tell your story, but it sounds like you're doing all of the right things so far with the relay and the phone and with an internet site already. You're reaching out there and leveraging the technology as best you can, given the limitations, but it's a tough sell, right? You've got to have people who can get into those spaces and leverage those tools as well. It seems as if, you're right, it's not finding new friends, it's expanding your friendship networks and getting maybe into the center of Jacksonville where there are other people that can cross-promote and maybe assist you in reaching those customers as well.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, just as I think about it, this may be one of those things where technology is not the solution. But just, listen to Debbie speak here. It could be more of just a good old-fashioned meeting with folks face-to-face. Technology can be helpful, but it has its limitations. In any business, nothing ultimately replaces a good old-fashioned face-to-face conversation.
Okay. I would like to reiterate, after we have about 5 minutes of Q&A, it looks like we have quite a few questions. Our panel will be around, and you can ask them questions individually as well. So once this is over, we're not going anywhere. We had a question over here, I believe, right? There we go. Hi.
Hi, my name is Kathy Nyman. I just started a company called Rain Girl, and I just started business. And my question to you, Angela, you had talked about opening up international. On my website, I actually had somebody from Canada frustrated they couldn't buy something from me because I'm a little scared as far as understanding the requirements to do that. And also for you, Debbie, is the payment for that, because I know that the conversions and all that kind of stuff. So currently I ship through USPS, but what do you suggest, Angela, as far as me getting, opening up to somebody from Canada, just starting baby steps?
I think it starts with getting comfortable with it and figuring out how you can start small. And starting with one customer is often a great way to do it, right? Or starting with one product or one SKU. So let's connect afterwards, and I'll give you one of the Get Started International guides outside. It has a lot of resources, not just FedEx resources, but the U.S. Chamber and other organizations that have great tools to answer questions specifically like that. And just, it's kind of maybe even a one customer by customer starting point for you, but there are ways that you can do it that really will reduce your risk.
So it's not that scary?
It doesn't have to be that scary, right? There's resources out there that will help you hold your hand. So I admire you for being willing to tackle it. So that's the first step, knowing that you want to do it. So yes, there are resources that can help you make it unscary.
Okay,
And
thank
so
you.
From the card side you mentioned, that part's dead simple. You can take a card from anywhere in the world. So your business is based here. As long as you can manage the fulfillment side of things, you can take a card from anywhere.
So John Hercursman informed me that we don't have a 140 hard stop. So if we do have a couple of extra questions, we will certainly do that as well. Let's go right over here. Question, announce yourself, your name,
Yes.
your business, please.
So my name is Rhett Farber. I have my own training, coaching, consulting company. My question, I've been living overseas for the last 10 years and just moved back a couple of months ago. And I've noticed in the last few months, it wasn't around a few years ago, I've gone to a few restaurants and they have something called the Square, where they have the square that they put right on an iPad, and you just swipe the card right there. And talking to one of the merchants, they're telling me that for merchant services, their percentage is lower than traditional cards and so forth, and yet someone else is telling me it's not securely encrypted. So I'm just curious, for small business, what are your thoughts about the Square?
Absolutely. So in general, Square is bringing that technology to the everyman, so to speak. There are other tools that do that as well. It depends on what your business is looking for in terms of, again, back to the omni-channel solution. If you're looking for just the card present piece, there are tools for that. If you're looking for just e-invoicing perhaps, or just being able to take a payment through a website, what I would encourage you to do is do the research on which of those can bring it all into one place for you, so you don't have to sign up for a separate solution for every channel that you're looking for. In terms of encryption and tokenization, all of that is something where you also need to do your research around. People can say those terms, but really there's a number of elements when it comes to the physical device that requires an encryption key that actually takes that data, and they can swap the actual card number for a token, such that, again, you're protected, cardholders protected, et cetera. It requires you to do some research to figure that out, but there are solutions that can certainly help you with those as well.
Debbie certainly educated me on Square during our radio interviews, so I feel much more comfortable now. Did you have a follow-on?
So I was just curious, is this seem to be more mainstream that's happening over time? When you were talking earlier, Debbie, regarding technology and payments and so forth, is more small businesses doing this kind of quick swipe, connected to an iPad, connected to an iPhone, whatever it is?
Absolutely. No question. And the key is when you're doing e-commerce versus card present transactions, we call that the swipe when you're face-to-face, the costs can be different as well. So it's critical to pay attention to what does it take to actually process a transaction. And the goal is to find those solutions that are out there, stripping out the friction from the process and making it very, very clear what you need to pay and when you need to pay it, such that you can get into the space without having all the hassles. It's a huge deal. Small businesses, it's a stat, 90% of Americans will shop online this year, and only about 28% of small businesses can actually accept cards online. It's a huge opportunity where we see more and more and more, which is why MasterCard is focused on educating and nurturing that small business, helping the entrepreneur get the tools that they need, because it's so critical to reach your customers. Yes.
Okay, I'm going to move on. We have a question here, and then I believe we have one over here as well. Please.
Hi, my name is Lethal Blaine, and first I want to thank you all for being here. The information has been very valuable. My question is pretty general. As a startup or even an ongoing small business, when is a good time to involve, let's say, an accountant in your business affairs? And what should you expect from them?
It's a good time to involve an accountant.
When do you involve an accountant in your business? At what point? Who would like to tackle it?
There's probably no magic time. You know, honestly, I think when you start spending money is probably a good point to make sure that you have, really what you're looking for is counsel. If you are reasonably good with managing finances, then and you're spending a little money, then maybe you can do it on your own. But if it's an area that is, you know, not a strength, you may want to bring in help. So, but certainly the key is when you start spending money, and depending on how good you are or not good, that is really, I think, something you want to think about.
Even if you're not in a situation where you need an accountant on an ongoing basis, having someone counsel you to begin with to make sure that you set up your tracking processes correctly is probably really critical, unless you've had a degree in accounting.
And it depends on the complexity of your business.
Right.
If you've got international shipping with multiple taxations and things that are just, you know, more than you need to handle, then it's good to consult not just an accountant, but tax lawyers and other things as well. But it's all based on the complexity of the business also.
Okay, I've been instructed we have one more question. We apologize if we can't get to everyone here, but as I mentioned, everyone, the panelists will be around for a while. Which way am I going? Right over here? Right here. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lindsay Gast with Mighty Music Group, and we are a small recording studio. We're obviously service-based, songwriting, recording, artist development side of things. We've done a little bit of everything you all have mentioned. We have a website. Is it the best? We don't know. We do social media. Is it effective? We don't know. We're also branching out into other sides, you know, starting other upstart businesses underneath our umbrella. As we all know in this room, everything's a balancing act. Where do you put your money next? What do you believe is the best hierarchy to look at? Like you were talking with the web thing, you need to have a website first, then we'll see if it's effective. Well, from a business standpoint in general, do we need to get payments online before we look to get a better structure? Do we need to get, what's the hierarchy that you believe, obviously specifically for my situation, but anybody in general, to make sure that we are doing it in the correct order and not just putting the money somewhere where our clients can't get to it yet?
Jason?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with, there's no standard hierarchy, you know, so I'll take, you know, accepting payments, for example. You really need to think about how customers typically interact with you and how you want to interact with customers. If your customers typically pay you face-to-face, because if you're doing a gig and they pay you there, certainly accepting payments online would be an added convenience, but it may not be the first place to start if, for example, you know, that's not a challenge for you. If the challenge for you is getting your brand out there or getting more people to know about your business, then invest more on that side of the business. I think the key thing is the hierarchy is really determined by what is the problem you're trying to solve. So when you step back, you want to think critically about your business. Am I trying to get more people to know about my business? Am I trying to build my brand? Am I trying to engage with my community? Am I trying to make it easier to accept payments? You really want to focus from what problem or opportunity am I trying to capitalize on? And then once that's clear, then what you do next will become more clear.
In addition to that, whatever partner or tool you employ, it's only half the battle to sign it up and get running. It's the feedback loop. You need the analytics around, was this even a channel that's being successful? Should I drop it and invest elsewhere? Any of those things will start to become really, really clear with data. Gut feeling and passion are great. Data is greater. So the sooner you can find out, are my channels really online or are they face-to-face, and which ones are the best and the easiest way, then you can seek the best-in-class solution for the particular need. Just make sure it has that feedback loop where you can understand what is successful and what is not.
And is that something we mine through our clients?
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry?
Is that something we mine through our clients by actually asking them whether or not that's effective?
A lot of the tools will provide you feedback. You can get reporting and analytics on the hit rates. I mean, the web.com solutions are wonderful for that. We have reporting in terms of payment solutions that you can get immediate feedback on how your payments are, when are they getting generated, et cetera. All the analytics analytics can be provided through tools, but yes, good old-fashioned talking to individual customers, feedback, put a button or an email address where people can submit thoughts to you are critical as well.
I'm going to respectfully end the discussion. I know that you have a lot more questions. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be around for the rest of the afternoon, or the next few minutes, I should say. But let's thank CDW's Lino Morini, Angela Stevens from FedEx, Debbie Barta from MasterCard, and Jason Teichman from Web.com. It's been a pleasure, and we're going to be laying back up to the podium. Thank you. Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you much to everybody again. First and foremost, I want to thank all of you for the great community support here today. We really appreciate it. I want to thank our panelists. I want to thank Mark, obviously CDW, FedEx, MasterCard. It's been a great day today, but the day is not over. Okay, so before everybody leaves, we do have some more information for you all downstairs before you leave. There's some more content from all the companies here. There's also golf tickets for the weekend for all of you. There should be 2 of them down there for all of you, as well as our hospitality tent is open for all of you right now over on the 18th green. We have some Web.com ambassadors that are here who can also answer questions about online marketing if you need. Obviously, if you have any more questions for our panelists and for their contingency that's here today, we are here to help. But we would love to have all of you here today with us outside into our hospitality tent. We have some ambassadors who will walk you over there. We also have some carts that will be able to shuttle some of you over there, as well as tonight, the ticket that you got to come in today will get you into the Scotty McCreery concert here tonight as well. So thank you all very much again. It's a pleasure to always be here, and we look forward to seeing all of you again next year. So thank you all.